Well, there's a trailer for the new Captain Marvel out. There's some pictures from the new Terminator out. There's some news about the new Doctor Who's out. And I know what you're thinking. Good Lord, Bill, what the hell does this have to do with politics, and why are we paying you to talk about nonsense like comic books and movies? Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle that once again takes us back to the pop culture because, as I've said many times, as my friend Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream of culture, and pop culture is not a battlefield. Pop culture is the battlefield. So here's the reason why I want to talk about these things. We live in a post-Christian America. It's a heartbreaking thing to say, but it's true. Certainly young people are not allowed to be Christians. They can become earth worshippers or druids or Wiccans or anything. That's not only fine, that's just grand. But there is no essentially, there's among a certain age group and lower, you're simply not allowed to have religion, because if you're religious, then you're a homophobe and you're a misogynist and also an idiot. And so I have maintained, yeah, there you go. I've maintained that what we've been seeing over the last 20 years or so is a generation that have been so coddled by the self-esteem movement that they have essentially brought their childhood with them. They saw Star Wars when they were little kids, and now they're 30, 35 years old, and they still have their little action figures on top of their computer monitors. And all of the stuff that was normally taken up by religion has been taken up by the pop culture. And since this is essentially the lifeblood of our nation, we'd better understand what's going on in that blood chemistry, whether we like it or not. So here's what's going on. We have an incredible opportunity here because Hollywood has decided now, has gone so far to the left, that they're not just making new movies. They are going through the process of destroying cultural icons. It's kind of like the Taliban blowing up those statues of Buddha that have been there for 1,200 years or whatever. The left is going through the pop culture and enforcing upon its audience the social justice values that nobody wants to see. And this is important because here's a map of the United States. If we were voting for president tomorrow and only millennials vote, you would see that we carry Utah. So what this big blue ocean does is important. It matters. And it matters more than anything else that we talk about. So, Steve, let's start with you. Reason I decided to pick this was today was they've released the first trailer for Captain Marvel, a female superhero that they kept trying to introduce through comic books and TV shows, just would not catch fire, but by God, you will take your medicine. So they're turning this into the flagship character. Here's an interesting picture from the new Terminator movie. The new Terminator is female. And you'll see on the right there, Sarah Connor, who you all may remember, as a terrific action hero. Great, strong woman character. I loved her. I thought she was terrific. But Sarah O'Connor and the Terminator and then the new heroine, and somebody has said the really wonderful and exciting thing about this Terminator reboot is there are no men in the picture. And this is what the left needs to accomplish. Now, what they want to accomplish, the left needs to accomplish. They must make sure that at all times there are no men in the picture. So we have a female Terminator. We have the female Ghostbusters, which did appallingly. We had the female Ocean's 11 movie, which was the bottom of the list of those. Doctor Who is going to be a female. Very likely the next James Bond will be a female. And all of this, to me, Steve, is social engineering. And I think that people need to be aware of it, and they need to be aware that it is working to the advantage of conservatives because non-political people have had enough of this.
Well, and they're ruining the franchises, too.
They're killing them.
Yeah, David Burridge, Iowa Hawk, had one of the most truest tweets ever, where the hashtag was leftism, and the tweet itself was, gut a respected institution, wear its skin it, and wear its skin as a skin suit while demanding respect. And that's what they've been doing to these beloved franchises. You know, some of my favorite heroes when I was growing up were female characters. Princess Leia, who I think you mentioned, Sarah Connor, who I think you mentioned, Ripley from Alien and Aliens.
The definitive strong female character.
Exactly. And yeah, these were all ladies who could pick up a rifle and kick some booty when they needed to. But their toughness was a very female toughness. These were womanly women. Leia was at her best in a leadership role. Sarah Connor didn't try to go hand to hand with a Terminator. She built bombs and stuff. And her motivation was a mom's motivation. Yeah, she wants to save the world, but it was always about saving her son. She needs to save her son,
John Connor, because John Connor is the only hope of the resistance.
That's right. Oh, and you know what? This is how they ruined Terminator in that Genesis movie. I'm kind of veering off here, but no, I know, because this goes into how they ruin these franchises. The Terminator Genesis movie was so bad for a couple of reasons. One, you take this iconic character, and the reason it didn't really work in the previous movie with, what's his name, Batman playing John Connor, is we'd only ever heard either talk about John Connor or seen him as a 12-year-old boy. He maintained that mythic status that way. When they showed him actually in the leadership role, it kind of fell apart because you lost some of that myth. And then in Genesis, they had to make John Connor the bad guy because, you know, it's not a SJW movie unless the bad guy is an evil white male. And they totally miscast what's-her-name from Game of Thrones as Sarah Connor because she's a very soft-looking woman, and she doesn't speak in the same hard way that that what's-her-name, the original Sarah Connor, could. And
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton, thank you. She had one line. She had to deliver the famous Terminator line, "Come with me if you want to live," and she couldn't even do that. So horribly miscast, misconceived movie. You mentioned Ghostbusters already, and the one time where I thought they had a shot. Do you remember the short-lived Agent Carter Marvel TV show spinoff?
No, I didn't.
We enjoyed that.
Yeah, it only lasted for 2 seasons, and each season was short, 12 or 13 episodes. But it was, what's her name? Agent Carter from Captain America, the first Avenger, the movie. The British actress whose name I also can't remember at the moment. And season 1 was so good because she was smart, she was female, she was sexy, she was saucy, all of these great things, and just tough as nails and getting stuff done. And in season 2, it became screeching feminism, social justice woman, and the thing lost its audience and got canceled. So Bill, we've gotten to the point where they can't even launch a new franchise without ruining it. So I have my hopes up for Captain Marvel, but let me give you a preview from a 12-year-old boy, my son Preston, who is so into Marvel that his idea of a good time is challenging people. Name a Marvel superpower, and I will try and explain it scientifically. I mean, that's awesome. This is my boy. I love him to death. Captain Marvel came up because the trailer was being released, came up over dinner last week, and Press just shook his head and said, "She's the most OP character ever." And I said, "OP? Overpowered." So
there you go.
Yeah.
This is the language of the people that are going to be voting for the future of this country, and he's a fine fellow, and we need to understand this language, and I think I do. So, Scotty, here's the point. We mentioned some movies with some great female leads, so just pick 3. We have Tomb Raider, we have Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, we have Ellen Ripley in the Aliens movie, which is my favorite movie of all time. It's not the best movie of all time, but it's my favorite. And then we have Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies. So anytime that people like us talk about the fact that this constant conversion of male characters into female characters is not fair, it's not right, nobody wants to see it. And immediately we're bombarded with charges of being sexist and misogynist, throw in racist too if you want to criticize Star Trek Discovery, which is just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It just was not on the TV. I never saw it. It just didn't happen. So this is the response. So the response is that you obviously have a problem with women in positions of authority, but that's not what we're talking about, and that's not what this enormous pool of young American, primarily young American males, voting age males, is upset about. They're not upset about strong woman movies. What they're upset about is this retroactive destruction of things that are really taken on their religion. We're going to destroy Star Wars for social justice. We're going to destroy Star Trek for social justice, Terminator, Doctor Who, James Bond, on it goes. And this presents us with a tremendous opportunity to win people over where they live.
Well, and in view of that, I think this is as good a time as any to let our viewers know that this show, Right Angle, has actually been recast to star 3 millennial black lesbians. And starting next week, it'll just kind of reimagine the franchise and I think breathe new life into it.
Completely new life. It's called Queer Angle.
That's right. Obtuse Angle is starting next week. We've been doing mashups as a civilization from the beginning. I mean, people take one heroic myth and morph it into another heroic myth, and people have transformed characters back and forth among the sexes and cultures and things like that. So I really don't have a big problem with people wanting to reimagine characters and say, "Hey, what would it be like to have a black female Superman?" I don't know. Go for it. I think what happens is, though, they can't stop there. They have to then use the black female Superman to preach at you. And so they can't just let the story roll out. If I were writing the story and say, well, what if Superman were actually a black woman, and then there was some evil that was attacking the world, a supervillain, and this woman would have to deal with that. And that's the story, right? It's not the story about proving how much better it is to be black or woman, and superior it is to being a white male Superman. It's just tell the frickin' story. It's like, just don't get so mired in your own little social justice paradigm that you can't possibly just tell a good story to people. I think that there are stories written about women that could be converted into male stories without feminizing men.
Yes.
I'm not going to say take Little Women and make it Little Men, but you can do things like that. It's art. Imagine, go wild. I don't care about that. But don't get me in the theater just so you can give me the speech that I didn't get to hear because I wouldn't go to the Democratic National Convention. I mean, that's basically fundamental problem with this. The problem with Ocean's 8 was not the fact that there were women in it. The problem with it was that the script was weak, the humor was not that great, the suspense was minimum, and I saw the movie twice. I had to, but
I enjoyed that one more than you did, Scott. I really did.
Well, I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I'm just saying it wasn't that great.
But it was weaker than the previous three. Yeah.
But it had nothing to do with the fact that it was women. So I guess I think that where conservatives or where people from the right could do well is to create art and movies and theater and song that just tells the story. We can do the same thing. We don't have to be on the nose with everything. Not everything has to be 3 points in a poem and a talk show and a white paper and a foundation, for a better America, influencing members of Congress. We can create art. We can just let our muse flow and not get so caught up in the idea of having to convert somebody with every moment of every piece of art.
I have a couple quick responses to that. First of all, we don't need to create the art in question because the art in question already exists.
Yeah, in this
and
particular
has existed
case,
for
yes.
40 years,
Yes.
50 years or longer, 70, 80 years in some cases. It's the destruction of existing works of art, which I would call James Bond and Star Trek and Star Wars and all the rest of it. It's the destruction of them and the inversion of them that has people so angry. This is so critically important. If you take, I'm just going to show you this map again. This is where the future of the country lives, and we have to be there. So I think really the point here, Scott, is hopefully this will be clear to our audience members. The problem with having Superman be a black woman is not a question of the story or the plot or the effects or anything. The fundamental problem with having a black woman as Superman is that Superman is not a black woman. Period. That's the problem. If you want to invent a superhero who's a black woman who has the powers of Superman or whatever else, great. Maybe you can make it work, maybe not. But people won't reject it out of hand. Certainly the American people went to Black Panther in droves. A very successful movie, a great movie, well-played movie about a black character who's a black character. When you try to make Superman, as the example, into a black woman, you are not raising black women to the level of superhero status in the culture, which is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
All you do is destroy the idea of Superman. Well, at least the new idea of Superman. Because as I've been constantly reading all of these fan sites, these sites that get 16, 20, 30 million views on every single video, I'm finding again and again and again and again and again that, number one, young people, especially young males, are tired of having their religion taken away from them and being substituted with Mao's Little Red Book. They don't like that. Number two, they don't like the fact that despite the fact that these things do bad box office, they keep shoving it down your throat until you like it. They're having a conservative reaction to this pop culture tyranny, and it is a gigantic wave, and I'm telling you it's out there, and it killed a Star Wars movie was not a financial success because the fans said, no, after episode 8, we're not going, to hell with it. Another thing it does is it shows that the left has to survive by rewriting the past. That the left's actual past is so appalling and so free of any actual heroic qualities that they have to jump onto the conservative past and take it over, like that thing that lands on the back of Spock's head, and they have to take things like Superman, which had merit and still has merit, and make it into something else. And this is, I think, the biggest point of all. There's no question that these things are financial catastrophes. You would think that their business sense would say, don't do this, but they keep doing it, which tells me what I already knew, which is ideology trumps box office in Hollywood because everybody is paid in advance on a movie. That's why they cost $200 million. And they would rather have a movie that doesn't do very well as long as it gets their social justice message out there. But Superman is not a social justice warrior. And you can write him as one, and they are, but everybody, and I mean everybody, just looks at this and says, okay, well, this isn't Superman anymore. Superman believes in truth, justice, and the American way. And if you want to give me a Superman who believes in equality, diversity, and the equal sharing of the proceeds of the means of production, you can put him in a Superman suit and you can call him Superman, but it's not Superman. And we all know it. That's why the sales of these comic books are now down to 20,000 sales per, for a major release. It's a shadow of what they used to make because people don't buy it. So to put the politics back in this political show, I'll simply say this. Every single day that goes by, the young people that make up that blue ocean, let's show it again. That blue ocean that you see there doesn't think much about politics or care much about politics. They don't spend time in politics. They're Bernie supporters because they don't know anything about Bernie or socialism. If they had any kind of an education, they'd be conservatives. But they don't. They don't care. They don't care about politics. They vote once every 4 years for the person that they feel right, for the person that the people who they respect tell them to vote for. Joss Whedon and all of the actors and all of the people that make the comic books and the cartoons and the movies that make up their lives. These people are angry, and they're not angry at conservatives. They're angry at liberals. They're very angry. They're very, very angry. And if we don't step into this space and say, you should be angry about all of this, this is what they do. This is what they've done to the Constitution. This is what they do. This is how they destroy people. You should be angry about this. Han shot first. And that is the truth that's trying to be erased as quickly as possible. It's a tremendous political opportunity. And if we don't take advantage of it, it's because we, in our pride, have walked away from the future of this country simply because it's so distasteful to us that the next generation of Americans are essentially grown children who have their action figures on their desk. I don't like it either. But I care enough about this country to be willing to say, if that's where the future is, then that's where we need to be. And that is a point I'm going to be hammering for as long as I can and as loud as I can. And I'm 59 years old, so I'm actually a little tired from all the talking. I'm feeling a little verklempt. I think I need a little boost of some kind of apricots or prunes or something and get me back to the glorious days of radio. That'll do it for this edition of Right Angle, brought to you by the Ping members at BillWhittle.com. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.